Welcome everybody to Dragoncast. We are back here once again. It's been a long time. I'm Brian, your co-host here, and it's so good to have my buddy Victor. Victor, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? Man, it's been way too long before we got together to get one of these shows going on. I mean, it's been at least, 2 months now?
Man,
maybe?
It's been
more?
It's just been too long, man.
Yeah, too long.
It's been too long. Well, hey, you know what? Victor and I are back, but we're back with somebody new here today. Want to introduce Kona to the show. Hey, what's
Kona,
up, Kona?
It's great to have you. I mean, I know you've been part of the Dragon Blogger team now for quite some time, but it's the first time that we've had you on the show. Actually, no, let's scratch that. We had a previous show that just didn't air, for technical difficulties.
Yeah,
but
my bad.
We finally have you on, and the public's finally going to get to hear your voice. So, tell us a little about yourself. How'd you become a member of the Dragon Blogger team, and how you feel about joining our podcast?
I started up about, I guess it would have been 2 years this last summer with Dragon Blogger, just writing a couple articles here and there. I've done a bunch of iPhone app stuff. I've got a bunch more coming up soon once I get my update. And then I've done the one and only fashion review on Dragon Blogger. That was definitely fun. And then so in regards to Dragon Blogger, I'd been watching the page for probably 6 months, and Justin just did a call out, and it's like, hey, I could do some writing.
Yeah, right. I think everybody can do some writing, but I think that the unique team that we have here, everybody brings their own personality. Iggy has his pretty awesome videos, which, he's not with us today. And you mentioned the fashion. That's a nice addition to the page. A lot of people don't I shouldn't say understand, but they don't realize that Dragon Blogger is also entertainment, and, fashion is a part of that. So I'm glad to hear that you did some of that stuff on there.
Yeah, well, as some of the stuff I do, because I do a lot of things, but I do some modeling, and I do cosplaying and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen. That's awesome.
Yeah,
you guys
cool.
should go check out that Facebook page.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, again, that's just one of many things I do. On my profiles, I tend to describe myself as an artist, a blogger, a gamer, and a crazy cat lady. So.
Crazy cat lady.
Nice.
I like that one.
Well, Kona. Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I've got 4 cats, so I mean it kind of counts at this point as a crazy cat lady.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a limit as to when that what is that? That name comes into play, and I think 4 is probably where it starts. Yeah.
Well, hey, Kona, we're definitely glad. Victor and I are definitely glad to have you on the show, and I'm sure everybody else that's listening is as well. It's always good to have a nice mix of people, and that's kind of like what we're trying to do here on Dragon Blogger. It's really, we want everybody to participate. This isn't just one individual's show. This is everybody's show. And we're really glad that Kona can be a part of this. Unfortunately, this should have been her second show, but we actually did a previous show where we had Jeremy Bullock on the show. But I got something for you guys later. We'll talk about that later on in this episode. So no worries, guys. So let's get right into the thick of this, shall we? Let's get right into it. So we're going to talk about...
Let's do it.
Let's do this. So let's talk about movies. I love movies. You guys love movies, right?
Oh, yeah, man. We have movie nights here at home all the time,
Yeah.
Just recently, we caught... What did we catch? I mean, we caught some of the kid-friendly movies, like How to Train Your Dragon 2.
I love that movie.
Freaking awesome.
That was so good.
Awesome.
Haven't seen number 2 yet.
Oh, you got to catch that, Kona. That's really good.
Yeah, it's so good. It was so good. We watched that, too, we actually bought it. We bought it during the Black Friday stuff, because it was like, how much was it? Like $10 or something like that on Black Friday? On Blu-ray.
And that's good.
We don't get as much up here in Canada of the Black Friday deals, but we get a couple. But
the How to Train Your Dragon 2 is a really great movie. I think it's even better than the first one, and I enjoyed the first one a lot too. You got to check that out. Another one that we recently caught was Box Trolls. The Box Trolls. That's a little, again, kid friendly. I got 4 kids, so we all sit down and watch that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool too. But I do know there's some others out there that I want to catch. Something like Interstellar. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh my gosh, man! I went and saw. So we went and saw. My wife and I, we love going to the movies. We love watching movies and stuff. We've probably seen. I think we've seen pretty much every major movie that's came out this year. The last one we saw was Interstellar. Went and saw it in IMAX, and oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, for those who don't know, Interstellar is a movie done by Christopher Nolan, who did Batman movies, also did Inception, and yeah, you can definitely tell it's a Christopher Nolan movie. It's just something about his movies that, like, you know it's him. You know what I mean? Like, you know how every director does their, like J.J. Abrams does the little lens flare things on, like, Star Trek, stuff like that. You know, they all have their own little unique things that you can tell it's their personality, their characteristics. And in this movie, it was almost a 3-hour-long movie. I didn't even know the movie was that long. And I went in there and watching it, and not many 3-hour-long movies really grasp me. Like Lord of the Rings movies, I ain't gonna lie, guys, but Fellowship of the Ring was not my favorite of the three.
Fellowship of the Ring.
But Interstellar, I didn't know it was that long of a movie, but man, I tell you what, there's so much that goes on in this movie that it really grabs your attention, and there's just so much going on. You know, you got Matthew McConaughey, you got Anne Hathaway, you've got Michael Caine in this movie. You know, I mean, typically, and that's what I like about Nolan is you kind of see some of the same people in his movies. Like, you know, Michael Caine was in Batman, so was Anne Hathaway, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, great all-around movie. I highly recommend anybody to go check it out. And if you're going to go see it, if you are able to go see it in IMAX, please spend the extra money to go if you're able to, for sure.
See, it's funny that you mentioned both, you know, the Lord of the Rings trilogy as well as 3-hour-long movies. Like, again, I'm not going to lie, I have not been able to sit through any of the Lord of the Rings films yet.
Oh, wow.
I've tried like 5 times. I kid you not, guys. I've sat in front of there and I'm watching. About 15, 20 minutes later, I'm like, dude, this is 3 hours long. I can't. I'll come back to it later. Never go back to it. It hasn't happened yet. So I'm like, dude, I got to sit down and watch these, you know, but I can't.
With the new Hobbit movie that's coming out this month,
yes.
Like once they're all released, if you were to watch, like based on the time that the current Hobbit movies are running at, and the time already into the that they have for the Lord of the Rings ones, if you were to watch them all back to back, it's expected that it's going to be a 24-hour marathon.
Wow! Can you imagine that? 24 hours of you know, Middle Earth, The Hobbit, you know, Lord of the Rings.
You know,
Middle Earth is totally my place.
You know, it's funny because everybody tells me, dude, I've seen these movies. You're like the guy I would expect to like know this stuff back and forth. I'm like, man, me too. But I can't. I've tried. I can't.
I know, and that's what's funny too is like we, you know, we own the. We don't have the Lord of the Rings movies, but we've got the the first 2 Hobbit movies, and I always tell my wife, I'm going to sit down and watch these. But it's like I go to sit down and watch it, and I'm like already like, oh my god, I know this is 3 hours long, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Like I remember when I went and saw.
And I think that's what it is. I think it's that mental block that I put on myself. Saying, you're sitting here for 3 hours.
Setting aside 3 hours of your life to sit in a chair.
Like you should be doing this instead. I don't know, man. Maybe 3 hours. Before I know it, 30 minutes have passed. I paid no attention to the film whatsoever. I'm like, damn, I got to start over. You know? And I think that's what it is. Yeah. I think I need to stop binge watching stuff on Netflix and just sit there and say, all right, this is my time to really get to this because, you know,
you're running
I've been watching.
Behind.
Yeah, I'm running way behind.
And it's not to say that I don't think really any of the Lord of the Rings movies are bad. I think they're great movies. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the movies. It's just that, like, I think what it is for me is let's compare, like, those movies to, like, Interstellar, okay? With Lord of the Rings, there was so much dialogue. I think that's what really kind of, and I'm not saying that the dialogue was bad.
Long-winded and always has been. Like, I mean, all of his
Yeah.
So.
And that's what really, I think, did it for me. Like, I remember when I went to go, I was really excited when I saw the trailers because I never read the books. I've never read the books. Still haven't read the books. I know I need to read them. I haven't read them. And So I was really pumped up for, like, Fellowship of the Ring. It looked really cool. Now I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know this has been said so many times, but there's all this walking, talking, it's like little bit of action, and I was like, man, I'm like, okay, this is like, and I think I fell asleep actually when I first went and saw it. And it wasn't because the movie was bad. No, the movie wasn't bad. I think it was just I wasn't mentally prepared, like Victor said, for there to be so much dialogue and so much like exploring and stuff like that. Now with Interstellar, there was always something happening. There was always something different going on. And it was so fast paced that it didn't feel like you were sitting there watching a 3-hour long movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it was completely different stuff happening.
If you look at again, like I was saying in the pre-recording there, I'm totally for the books. I mean, I grew up with these books. The Hobbit was the first novel I read as a kid, and I was 6 years old.
Nice.
So
wow,
6 years old. Wow.
Well, you should see what my daughter's reading right now. She's read like every Goosebumps book ever made.
Oh, I love Goosebumps. That's awesome.
Oh, that's
good
great.
It's
R.L. Stein all the way, my friend.
Yeah.
R.L. Stein right there.
But if you look at the way things are laid out, I mean, the Lord of the Rings series being done first, I mean, I'm looking kind of back at it now that they split up The Hobbit into 3 parts, and it's so action-packed compared to the older movies, which are then, like, I mean, they're stretched out one entire book per movie, whereas The Hobbit, which is one book, is 3 movies, in the same length of time. And it's very, very backwards for me because Peter Jackson did, of course, make the changes to the storyline, kind of mixing in some of Tolkien's other works into it. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of like legit stuff in there, but it's not legit to the storyline. And of course, like me being somebody who grew up with that very specific story, I sat through there, and it's, as much as I didn't really like some of the changes, it was kind of nice because I still had, with the new Hobbit movies especially, so much new stuff to possibly expect.
And you know what? And that's a great look at how the books translate into films. I kind of feel like now it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, The Hobbit, one single book, it's been stretched out into 3 movies. And then we have other, books that have only been made into 1 movie, maybe stretched out into 2. A lot of people that have read the books, and I know, Kona, you've expressed that you love reading the books after watching the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's, I think it's the consensus is the book is always better than what you see on the screen.
That's true.
And I think the reason for that is because when we read the books, we have our own imagination at play, so we play our own movie in our head. And now when we see someone else's, vision of it, we don't agree with some things, or we do agree with others, or we're not happy with this, but we're not happy with that. They should have added this, but they left that out. Because we have our own film in our head, and if it doesn't meet our expectations, you'll always have someone coming back saying something was wrong. They should have added this. The Harry Potter films, for example.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that's a huge book. They should have added this. They should have added that. Oh, you forgot this. Well, this doesn't jive, And that's a tough spot to be in. But you know what? I wanted to give you a big thumbs up because I like the way you do it. Let's watch the films first. Let's go read that book afterwards because you know what? I'm going to enjoy that book a lot more than that movie, and you're going to have a better impression of the story than most of us do because we're backwards.
Full enjoyment of you get the full enjoyment of the movie, not knowing that something was supposed to be different.
Exactly.
And
right. Yeah.
Full enjoyment of the book.
I'm going to start doing that now.
Yeah, it's an intriguing way to do it. I've never thought of that. You figured, I'll watch the movie, I'll get it. I'll understand the story. No way, man. I mean, the books again are always way better than the films that you see on TV. And I think that the way Kona expressed it, in our pregame show is right on. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the film as best you can because you're going in there blind. And then you read the book and get even better.
It's the same thing, like the series as it goes. Watch the first season, then read the books. There are so many things in the books that they can't put into the series because it would give stuff away, obviously.
What series is that?
The Game of Thrones series.
Game of Thrones. Oh, okay.
But I mean, it's again, it's a similar thing. If you watch one series, read the book, watch the next season, and then read the next book. And again, you get that extra insight after watching it without spoiling anything.
Yeah, that to me is intriguing. I've never even thought of that, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and give that a go. Especially since we're seeing more, book to film movies. I think the Divergent films are now out.
Yeah.
You know, I think I saw The Book Thief out there not that long ago. A lot of these movies and books. My teen daughter, she's well aware of. So, oh, we gotta go watch Divergent. Oh, we gotta go watch this. We gotta go watch that, because she's read the book, so she's already in there expecting to see something that she's already read. How she's going to enjoy it, I have no idea. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do it the other way. Let's watch the film. Can I borrow your book, sweetie? I want to read that. Let's take a look and see exactly what is missing and what more I can get out of the film, knowing that, you know what, I have the full page right in front of me.
Well, if you read The Hobbit, you expect Tom Bombadil. But you watch the movie and it's like, where's Tom?
Yeah.
What kills me about movies nowadays, though, we're talking about book to movie translations, is and they're going to do the same thing with Divergent when Allegiant comes out, is they always make the last book into like 2 parts. Yeah. And it's like Hollywood's trying to milk it for as much as they can.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I would kind of like for them to not do that, maybe at least one time. I don't know. I mean,
well, let's think about it this way. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
The last book of a series is usually the biggest one. Usually the one that wants to tie everything together.
Right. Yeah.
Is it a possibility that they split the last book into 2 films because they're trying to get all of that in there, or do you think it's because, all right, the series is gonna finish, we got to make sure we get as much money out of this as we can?
So I would like to use Mockingjay as a good example of this. I've read those books. Okay. I'm not going to give any spoilers away for the movies or anything like that in case.
Don't worry about it. I'm not entirely excited about it. I don't know.
Well, I mean for the viewers. For the listeners. I don't want them to.
We can always say, hey, jump ahead for a little bit.
But the thing about Mockingjay is that book alone really doesn't have much meat in it. I don't think it has enough to really do a 2-part. I mean, because I remember watching Mockingjay, and there's all that stuff going on with Katniss and Peeta, and which is to me it's not really about the districts and fighting the Capitol. It's more about Katniss and Peeta at this point. I really think that they could have done away with a lot of that stuff in the book. I mean, I know a lot of people want the book to be as much as the movie, or the movie as much as the book, as much as possible. But when you have a book that is mostly just dialogue, you can cut a lot of that dialogue out, especially if it's not crucial to the book or the overall story. I think what they should have done was they should have made Mockingjay just a 3-hour-long movie and just ended it. Because the second half of the book is, I'm just going to say this, it's very action-packed, sort of.
Sort of?
Sort of.
Well, thinking about it in that sense, though, a film nowadays is what, running 90 minutes? Wouldn't 2 films be about 3 hours?
Yeah.
It'd be about the same, right?
I think, and that's what I'm saying is I really believe they should have just ended it. Let's just make this a 3-hour movie, because the latter half of the book is really, the other half of the book is more where stuff goes down. You know what I'm saying? Characters, I'm going to say right now, there's some main characters that are going to die, and that's what you expect. I mean, you all know at this point there's somebody that's going to die, something's going to happen. It's how it always is when they lead up to part 2 of whatever, something bad's going to happen.
That cliffhanger and whatnot,
so,
right?
I mean, I like where they ended Mockingjay Part 1, because I thought that was kind of what made the most sense, but I really think they should have just said, screw it, let's make it a 3-hour-long movie.
Just press on and make it. Just press on and make it an enjoyable beginning to end experience, as opposed to breaking it in half.
Right. Because let's talk about Star Wars for a minute, okay? Star Wars. All right, could you imagine if they had made Return of the Jedi Part 1 and 2? But that's not based off. But those aren't based off books. But I mean, or what if J.J. Abrams makes episodes 7, 8, 9 and a half, and then
well, we had Lion King 1.5.
That's true. That was pretty good.
I'm just saying, you know?
But I mean, it's not the same though, because you can't. That's not a really good comparison. My bad. I mean, but you know, it's just like.
No, but I think the idea is right on. You know, you have a story. Do you want to break it up into 3 separate films? I think it's worth it when the story warrants it. You know, in this instance, you have a book, you know, Mockingjay, which I guess the second half is more where it's at.
Yeah.
And yet break that up into 2. Is that really a smart move?
No.
Should we just go ahead and make it into one big film and say, you know what, this is my climax, here's my end game, it's going to be awesome, just stick with it because it's going to get there.
I think maybe there was simply a lack of balance with how it was broken up. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there is that issue with the way some books are. Some books should not be broken up. But I mean, if we're looking at like the splitting up of storylines and things like that, we also were talking about maybe bringing up the Underworld.
Underworld movies.
I was watching some of the Underworld stuff on Netflix recently, and I was just trying to get everything in the right timeline rather than in the order it was released, because of course the third one was a prequel. And I found out that, like 2015, we're expecting, it's called Underworld Next Generation. So we're getting the characters who, in the third movie, like the third movie introduced Michael with Celine, or is it Selena?
Selena. I think it's Celine. Yeah.
That's Celine. And they had a child together, and that's the premise for number 5.
The new film.
Whereas it was kind of thought it might just be a reboot, but it's actually the next in line.
Nice.
And then of course there's even supposed to be, like, it's confirmed there's a sixth film being written. So.
I love those movies.
Yes.
Lots of
those are pretty good.
It's also one that there isn't a book for it. So there's not really any way that people can have the extra expectations for it that people who would otherwise read a series would have. And sometimes breaking it up will stretch it out to the point where, like, I mean, I don't know if, Victor, you would get this analogy, but they kind of, Land Before Time was doing it wrong. They've got 12 movies now, and the first one was really good.
Yeah, I mean, Littlefoot was awesome.
Shouldn't the dinosaurs been dead by then?
Well, no,
dude, man, that was just weird. But yeah, it was Land Before Time. What was the last one? Like Land Before Time 17? I mean, there was so many. There were so
watching
many.
after the third one. The third one showed me that this wasn't going anywhere good.
Yeah, the last I remember was seeing Chomper,
honestly,
which was like little Tyrannosaurus, I think, and that was it.
I think what they need to start doing is, guys, if they're going to just do these book to movie translations, and it's going to be like a saga or like a series, like, Twilight or, Divergent, Hunger Games, whatever.
Or you know what? Thinking about it right now, it's the expectation that's really throwing everybody off. You read the book, you read, the script, not the script. You read the book, you know what's going on. So when you see something, you expect to see it a certain way.
Yeah.
Keeping that in mind, The Walking Dead, they have a series of comics, graphic novels, whatever you want to call them nowadays, and they step away from the storyline in there to change it up just enough to keep everybody intrigued and everybody happy, saying, what?
In the Peter Jackson remake for The Hobbit is in that sort of same thing, is you're not quite sure what he's going to include because, again, it's from another story entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's definitely a good comparison there. So
what I was saying was that I think what they're going to need to start doing is, instead of doing this whole Part 1, Part 2. I know they're trying to, because they do that because they want to try to get more money in the box office. I get it. But what I think they should do instead is go the route of Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. And could you imagine if they did Return of the King Part 1, Return of the King Part... No, screw that, because that's a big book in itself. I haven't read those books.
That would be 9 movies.
Exactly, right. So what I'm thinking they need to start doing is just make them all 3-hour long movies. Like make Hunger Games a 3-hour long movie. That would actually been kind of cool to see because there was a lot that happened in that first book. Then make Catching Fire 3 hours long. Then make Mockingjay 3 hours long. Let's do that instead. That way you can still tell more. Go into more detail. Please those people who read the books first, and then that way they can go into more detail with some things. And not only that, but it gives the directors and the people writing stories. It gives them a lot more breathing room as far as what they can include, because I don't know, I can't imagine what kind of stuff they've had to cut out so far from those movies to try to make them almost 2 hour long now, something like that, an hour 90 minutes. But make them all 3 hours long. Just screw it. Let's just if we're going to do a series, make them 3 hours long. Let's do it like that. That way we don't have to, people don't have to worry about waiting another year for the end all be all. Yeah, let's just get this out the way.
It also, depending, the excitement will be different depending on where they cut it off in the series. I almost cried with where they cut off the second Hobbit movie. Mm-hmm. Here I am, I'm sitting in the seat, and Smaug's making his thing. I am death. And because I'm a Game of Thrones fan, the first thing that came into my mind, and I said it out loud, was "not today." And then the movie ended, and I'm like, wow. Excuse me?
See, I think that's what it is. It's the experience. I love watching a film because of the experience it'll give you, and to cut that experience in half, that kills me. Why do you want to do that? I'm all for cliffhangers. I'm all for, suspense. But let's finish that storyline. Get me from point A to point B, not point A to point A and a half, and then I gotta wait 2 years for point B. I don't like that. Give me the full experience.
And not only that, but with I was reading the reports from Mockingjay, they actually made less money than they made out of the other two movies. So that should tell you something right there. They should have just ended it, because they don't know how many more people are going to go see the next movie. They might forget about it or whatever. I say let's just end it. Let's just go ahead, make them all 3 hours long, and be done. So the next thing I want to talk about, I totally forgot about this. I didn't bring this up in the pregame show. But I don't know if you guys have. I know, Victor, you're a big comic book movie fan.
Yes.
So have you guys heard the news lately?
About?
Oh man, there's all kinds of news.
Well, yeah, that's true. So, Marvel is trying to get Spider-Man back.
Oh, I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've
seen the most recent one. After that actor left, I feel really bad jumping around to watching the same storyline, the same character played by so many people.
Uh-huh. Well,
yeah, that's tough.
Well, here's some information that I just read about last night. So first it was going to be, Marvel and Sony were talking, and they were really close to getting a deal, and then Sony got hacked. You guys heard about that, right? Sony Pictures Studios got hacked, right? Okay, so then Sony's like, okay, we don't have time to talk about this right now. We just got hacked, so we're not doing this deal, right? And then Marvel was really disappointed about it because they really want to get Spider-Man. They want to have him because, you guys know they're doing the whole Civil War story arc, right? And
with Captain America.
Yeah, right. And Spider-Man's is a pretty crucial part of that storyline. You got to have Spider-Man in there. So anyway, then Sony's getting hacked and all this stuff, and then Marvel's kind of poking the finger into the side of Sony, saying, hey, I know you guys are getting hacked, but we really want Spider-Man because we got to shoot this movie soon, right? So they actually brought everything back to the table, I think, a couple days ago. So Marvel Sony's like, okay, well, if we give you Spider-Man, what are you going to do with Spider-Man, right? Because they don't want to just give up this multi-million-dollar franchise that they've had for over 10 years now to just anybody.
You never know what somebody else will do that'll run something to the ground.
Exactly. So I got the details of that, guys. So here's what Marvel's plan is for Spider-Man going forward if they work the details out to buy Spider-Man from Sony. So apparently what Marvel Studios is saying is they're going to put Spider-Man, and he'll make his first appearance in the next Captain America movie. That's what they're saying right off the bat. He's going to show up in Captain America Civil War. Second, is that every single actor who played in Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 is no longer going to be part of Spider-Man. That means
Out.
Andrew Garfield's not going to be Spider-Man. Whatever her name is not going to be Gwen Stacy. All that, they're all out. They're out. Marvel also said that any of the Sony Pictures Spider-Man movies are like the ones that Sam Raimi did and the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Those are all going to be officially non-canonical movies, meaning that they never existed. Okay.
Okay.
And they want to use a completely new guy for Spider-Man, but they're not going to tell his origin story. He's just going to show up. Like
that gives them
that's
to
interesting.
tell an origin story later on. Like, I mean, it still does keep them open for that if it goes over well and they can keep to their contract and stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure they'll get the opening for it if everything goes well.
And I like that move too, because you know what, we've
yeah.
had plenty of films with origin stories. You know, the first one that comes to mind is Wolverine Origins, and you know, some of them are just not good. You know, they drag on, and let's be honest, a lot of us kind of already know the origin story. Yeah. So it's like, you know, we don't need to be beaten the head with this anymore. We know we don't need to catch another origin story. If you want to mention it, great, mention it. You want to cut a good 15, 20 minutes of a film to go ahead and, you know, touch base on it, do it. But I don't think we need another 2-hour-long movie on an origin, you know?
I think what they're going to do with Spider-Man is they're going to go the route of Spider-Man the same way they're going with Deadpool. Deadpool appeared in X-Men Origins Wolverine, the Wolverine movie we're talking about. He appeared, Ryan Reynolds played as Deadpool, and now they're doing a full-on Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds. So I think that is what they're going to do with Spider-Man, is they're going to have him like just jump in this Captain America Civil War movie and then have him be in that before they actually do their own Spider-Man movie. Like they're just going to, because if you guys have noticed, that's what kind of Marvel tends to do, is they kind of include a main character or an important character.
Somebody, get people interested in being like, hey, we want to see more of this guy.
Right. So then they separate and branch off and do an actual movie themselves. Because I heard, it kind of makes me, and how I feel about it is, like, it kind of makes me excited because I love Marvel. And this whole Civil War, I've been telling my wife for the past 2 years, I'm like, man, I really want Marvel to do the Civil War storyline. That's my favorite storyline, but it's so hard to do because there's like 10 to 20 different superheroes in it. Like,
there's a lot of characters in it.
A lot of characters, and that's a lot for a movie. I found out the other day that the third Avengers movie, because we're in Phase 2 right now of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing.
Yeah.
And then that's going to end with Age of Ultron next year. Phase 3 is going to be the Civil War. Like, it's going to start with Captain America Civil War, kind of touch on that. And then, because if you guys have noticed, they've made Iron Man and Captain America really not like each other in the movies, which is how it is in the comics, which is going to lead into this Civil War storyline. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Civil War in Marvel or not, how that works.
Yeah, Marvel's really not my forte. I'll let you guys start away, but
basically what happens in the Civil War is
just the gist of it.
Basically, the gist of what happens is things go bad. The government is getting tired of superheroes, basically, and they want to know who superheroes are. Kind of like the mutant registration thing.
The Incredibles.
Yeah, right. So they want to. They start this thing called the Mutant Registration Act, and I believe it is Captain America is in favor. Or no, I'm sorry. I believe it's Iron Man who's in favor. Yeah, Iron Man is in favor of the registration act.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really have any superpowers or whatever to be.
But everybody knows. But everybody knows he's Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he kind of comes out like, well, everybody knows who I am, and they don't care. So it's the pro-registration side versus the anti-registration side, and it's Captain America versus Iron Man, basically. And spoiler alert, the reason why Spider-Man is such a big, integral part of this Marvel, this is why they're really trying to get Spider-Man in it, is because he actually steps out as the first person to reveal his identity, and that's why they're trying to get Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh, I wonder what his boss would have to say about that. Like, that's my first thought, is his boss is going to be furious.
So he actually goes, like, you're reading the comics, and he actually comes out, and they set up a big, like, press conference, and it's, like, televised nationwide, and Spider-Man goes up there, and he actually takes his mask off and reveals himself as Peter Parker, and he becomes the first person to actually step out in favor of the Registration Act. So that is why they're trying to get real hard to try to get Spider-Man, because it's going to throw that whole story off, and they're going to have to rewrite it, figure out what to do.
You know what? Thinking about it, Marvel Studios has some really big ones to be able to announce that movie and not secure Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, I mean,
how can you pull that timeline and throw Civil War in there and not have Spider-Man?
Exactly, and that was my thought too. Is that you got to have Spider-Man in there, and
it's part of that little storyline. So
I mean, he's
that's
a central figure in that. So I mean, that's why a lot of people were like, why does Marvel want Spider-Man so bad? That's why. That's why. It's because that's a key. He's a key figure in the whole breakdown. But yeah.
And I'll just, because we are getting into the interview, talking about key parts.
Yeah.
The Star Wars trailer came out recently.
Yeah, Star Wars trailer. Let's talk about this. Yes.
You guys watched it before I did.
Coda.
So I'll start out. If you guys want to start out, just letting people know what you guys thought of it, and then I will just make my note after that, and then we can load into our news.
Well, I tell you what, let's do this. So for those listening, we do a little pregame show. We kind of all get together, kind of talk about what we're going to talk about here on Dragoncast. And I had mentioned, hey, let's talk about the Star Wars show, because we got to talk about Star Wars trailer. Come on, it just came out. And I know Victor said he's seen it, I've seen it, and Kona's like, oh, I haven't seen it yet. So, Kona, we're going to let you start. I want to let you start out. We want to get your feelings out there, because I know you watched it, and you were like really wanting to say, and I was like, no, let's save it for the show. So, Kona, you watched it, and what are your thoughts about it?
I'm
first impressions.
Very, very hesitant, honestly, just because, I mean, I was very unimpressed with 1, 2, and 3. I mean, it was just so much special effect and stuff like that. And I know with this one, I've heard a lot about it, and I've seen a couple pictures and little articles and stuff like that, and they're going back to some more traditional effects where they've got, for example, in the thing, there was that curious little robot with a ball for a body, and apparently it's a real robot.
Yep.
That rather than CG, which is always nice. But when I was seeing what it looked like for possible storyline, it was so vague. But the action lead-in, they had the dramatic music and all that kind of stuff. It just, I'm hesitant as to what actually is going to show up. They didn't show any of the new characters or anything like that, really, except for, they showed a single character there. So, I mean, I'm worried then that they'll go and they'll get the hype way, way up, and it won't turn out. But at the same time, with what I've heard they're offering for this movie, what they've already released for information, I am somewhat hopeful. So, that's my view on it.
I'm reserved. I'm in the same boat with Kona here. Don't get me wrong. I love the Star Wars franchise, with the exception of Episode 1. but I'm in the same general consensus as everybody else. We've already seen 6 Star Wars films. Now we're going to go on to our 7th. What are we going to expect here? I mean, we know that Disney is now running the show here. So what are we going to expect? I was expecting a little more from the trailer, to be honest with you. I was expecting to see characters. I was expecting to see, even if it's just a glimpse of an outline of a story as to what we're going to expect.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that. What I got was, a pretty awesome looking black Star Trooper. That was pretty cool. I saw a little robot. I saw a lot of sand, but it's like, all right, so
So what's
what
actually
is
going
it?
to happen?
What's going down? What's going to happen? What am I excited for?
Well, I guess basically we saw the silhouette with the very controversial lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, that's all great. I love change. Change can be awesome. Change can suck. We just don't know. That's my question right now. Is I still don't know. The trailer came out, great, but what are you selling me? You can't be selling me just a Star Wars name. I know that. I've loved it forever. So what's new? What's coming on? What's next?
Yeah, I'm always
I want to know what's next.
But I want to know what there is about Star Wars.
So what did you think, Brian, after you've seen it?
All right. So guys, I have to say first off, J.J. Abrams with that teaser trailer and the way you guys are reacting to it right now, he did exactly what he wanted you guys to do. He wanted you guys to get the engine going. Wants you guys to think. Wants you guys to kind of be like, what is this about? He's done a great job of that. Because the way you guys are reacting to the trailer, and I think the way that a lot of people are reacting to the trailer the same way, is it's that initial spark. All this talk about Disney buying Star Wars a year ago, and then all this talk about J.J. Abrams doing the movies, and then we hear all this.
He even let out a lot of spoilers himself. These scenes that he's clips that he's put out on Twitter and stuff like that. And we had the lighting was on a Death Star even. Mm-hmm. There was the pattern on the ground or whatever in that picture, and it's okay, so you're giving us all these lead-ins, and then you're still not giving us anything with this new trailer.
The trailer.
Things you got to understand about J.J. Abrams is a guy who did a show some sort of cryptic stuff about Star Wars, and I like it.
That's a good point. I didn't actually remember that he was the one that did Lost.
Yeah. And I like that, and that's why I love J.J. Abrams. I thought it was at first thought it was real ironic that the guy who did Star Trek is the same guy who's directing Star Wars, which I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that because I love Star Trek. Those movies, I thought those movies were great.
Bring the Star Wars fans and the Star Trek fans together.
Mm-hmm.
The reboot of the Star Trek was pretty good too, so did a good job there.
But as far as trailer goes, my thoughts on the trailer. So, starts off we see a black stormtrooper. It ain't even about the fact that he's a black guy. Okay, let's get that out of there. Because I've seen all this stuff on the internet about people hating on the fact that he's a black guy. Who cares, right? Who cares? I don't care that he's black.
Color doesn't matter.
And what's sad is
is a stormtrooper.
And what's sad is the guy who plays this, and that character's name is Finn, by the way. I found that out. His name is Finn. The guy who plays Finn, John Boyega, he actually had to go on Twitter and talk about it. He's like, look, it really shouldn't matter what color I am. I'm in the story. So I don't care if he's black, white, Mexican, blue.
No.
I don't care.
And when and you know what? I want to just clear that up because I spoke and I didn't even think about that. Because, when I said black stormtrooper, I meant the suit was black.
Oh, no, I
know.
What
I know the suit was black. That looked freaking cool. I was like, damn, I haven't seen one of those yet. And now that you're bringing this up, I'm like, damn, I didn't even think about that. And I get crap for this. Like, no, dude, that's not what I meant at all.
No, I wasn't giving you crap for it.
The guy, no, I know you're not. You know me better. But what I'm saying is, I didn't even think about the person in the suit because when I saw the shine on that black armor, I guess I should call it armor, it's like, dude, that looks pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen one like that before.
It was definitely different. But
yes,
it is a familiar type of armor. And it's like, okay, so, this still gives me so little information.
Yeah.
But, so that's unfortunate. So we got this black, so we have this black stormtrooper. His name is Finn. I actually found that out. I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I have to try, I'm always online I'm online almost every day trying to find information about this freaking movie, okay? That's how excited I am. They actually released, online some collectible cards for the new Star Wars movies, and if you go online, you can actually find out the names of all the characters. Like, I believe the robot, the ball, is called BB-8. That's the name of the robot, I believe. And then the stormtrooper, his name is Finn, and I forget the name of the girl on the speeder bike. But anyway, let's break this down. Let's break this trailer down. So first off, we got some dramatic music playing, and then boom, a stormtrooper pops up, right? Mm-hmm. And my first thought was, okay, cool. Maybe he stole a stormtrooper outfit. Maybe he
was panicked. Like
Right.
he was not in a calm state at all.
Right. Maybe he stole a stormtrooper outfit to kind of tie back to the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. Remember where they stole the stormtrooper outfits and they were running through the Death Star, and stuff like that. So maybe he stole it. Maybe he is a stormtrooper. That'd be kind of neat, wouldn't it? Like and he's actually one of the main characters in the movie. So maybe he's a stormtrooper. Maybe the movie is called, and if you heard the voice, it said that the Force awakens both dark and light. So maybe the Force is going to awaken in a stormtrooper. That'd be kind of neat, right? Neat spin on Star Wars. Then we go to a shot of the X-Wings. Oh my God, that really got me some feeling right there. I love that. Apparently that was not a CGI shot, I believe what they said. But that was really cool. That was kind of neat. Tie back. I'm glad we're seeing the X-Wings again. And then we see the hooded figure with the very controversial lightsaber. The rumor is that particular character is going to be our villain for episode 1 or episode 7. Now the lightsaber, everybody online, you know how some Star Wars nerds get. I'm not this kind of nerd, but some Star Wars nerds get really sad about the slightest things or slight changes to things. And that is actually the most controversial piece of this teaser trailer is the freaking lightsaber. Now, I did some research. I did my Star Wars homework, guys. The lightsaber is called a crossguard lightsaber. And those are actually, it's actually an old relic Star Wars lightsaber. It's like an old lightsaber from the past, a long time ago. So apparently this hooded figure is using an old lightsaber from the past. Is basically what that is. Okay.
Like, I mean, from the controversial side, like, it was the first thing my husband mentioned when, like, he had seen that little clip or that, like, I think it was just like a still shot that he'd seen with the new lightsaber, is, I mean, when you think, like, for functionality of something of that shape, with what those, like, the parts coming off the handle, like, off the hilt, that's really not feasible for, like, fight. I mean, that's not how swords work.
I don't know.
And I think that's what is irking a lot of people is that the functionality and the practicality of it is a little weird. But you know what? We've seen plenty of weapons that are not functional whatsoever. You know, like the glaive. Really, throw something with knives on it and just catch it in midair. I mean, that's I think is a thing that really separates people that are watching things for enjoyment and those that are really into it. Like really, like don't knock it off. Just enjoy the film. It's gonna be great. I'm sure of it. But you know that functionality is it's a little on the odd side. Like how are you gonna use that in battle? I'm curious to see how you're gonna use it in battle. You know.
A couple other things too from the trailer. We see the Millennium Falcon in all its glory. It's really lame. There's a lot of people out there. Once again, the real anal, I guess, Star Wars nerds who pick apart every little thing they can. We're talking about how the satellite dish on the Millennium Falcon's in the wrong spot. I mean, come on, guys, really? It
might have broke off and they had to reinstall it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you never know, right? I mean, better reception on the other side. Who knows?
We don't know how many years apart episode Return of the Jedi is from this one. I'm sure we'll all figure that out later.
You gotta assume
I saw that too.
Children are at least in their late teens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to have to be somewhere around 20 years later, maybe.
Right. But a couple things you guys probably don't know about the teaser. One, the voice that you guys hear in the teaser, that is actually Andy Serkis, the guy who played Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
And the lightsaber that you guys hear at the very end, did you guys hear the little lightsaber go off at the end of the trailer? That's actually Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. So, interesting facts there. Nice. All in all the trailer aside, I mean, it's a teaser. Of course, we're not going to know.
We've got returning characters. However, I mean, again, we're running at the end of our thing now. We should probably get to announcing. We should get to announce our news for one of our upcoming episodes here.
Yeah.
A non-returning character.
Yeah. Well, hey, as far as we know.
As far as we know, that's right.
Coming back later, but so I had mentioned at the beginning of the show, Kona was on a previous episode with us that weren't able to air for some technical reasons, my bad. But got some good news for you guys. So I spoke with Jeremy. I emailed him back and forth about earlier this week. He is going to be coming back on our show sometime next month. And we're going to talk some Star Wars. And we're going to really talk some Star Wars now that this trailer is out. Now that we have the title of the movie. We hadn't even had the title of the movie out when we talked to him yet either. So
yeah, that's right.
Just because you only dropped Jeremy there for a name, in case anybody's just
Boba Fett.
Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett in the original series.
So I think it'd be great to get his intake on what we just saw, the trailer, maybe what he thinks might go down, what he thinks a story may be. I mean, whether or not we would even get any more additional bounty hunters on there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be intriguing, you know, just to get his take on it, since he's part of that world, you know.
Absolutely, I'm excited to talk to Jeremy. Jeremy's a good guy. He's a, I consider him a friend. You know, he's a good guy to talk to. Him and I have talked quite a few times. I met him about 3 years ago at Chicago Comic-Con. Good guy. Really excited to have Jeremy Bullock on. Boba Fett. So be on the lookout for that. We'll throw some more information as we get closer to finding out an actual time when we're going to have him on. But that is all the time we have today here.
Yeah, that'll be for another day, my friends.
And there's some contests going on at DragonBlogger right now. Victor, you want to talk about those real quick?
I would like to if I had the screen up on my thing.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I'll pull it up. Here we go. So we've got...
I'm sorry. That's unpreparedness for you guys.
That's all good. So if you go to DragonBlogger.com, you can go to our giveaways link there at the very top. And the first row there is our most recent giveaways. We got like a free year of website protection from Cloud Layer there. We've got a Kingston Mobilite G2 to take media storage with you, so you can take your media on the go, things like that. Head on over to our website, check out those contests. Other than that, guys, that's going to be it for this episode of Dragoncast. It's been a pleasure having my good friend. Been a pleasure having my good friend Victor and Kona. Glad to finally have you a part of this show as well. Guys, we will be back here once again on the Dragoncast. Take it easy, guys.
All right, you guys have a good one. Later.
Bye.